Let's talk combat. Let's talk NATO, the next war in Europe. Victory Games, 1983. So, well, I was playing it, but managed to get through the first two turns and getting ready to start the third turn. And like I said, it's been a long time since I even had this game out of the box. But I decided this would be a good one to play this weekend or over the next few days or however long it takes me. So I've had a few people ask me about how can I possibly have 3, 4 games set up at a time. So not that I've ever been diagnosed with it, but I'm sure like 90% of the world probably is, and I'm sure I'm part of that. The ADD. I'm one of those that, and I'm going to use the Blitzkrieg Legend was the prime example because I love the OCS. That's probably my number one system right now is OCS. And SCS is right behind it. Great Battles of American Civil War. Great Campaigns of American Civil War. Civil War Brigade Series. Love all this stuff, all right? But for a little while there, Blitzkrieg Legend was the only one I had on the table. And there's probably more of you like this out there. If you only got one thing you're staring at, I do that at work. So I don't want to do that when I come home. I want to kind of break it up. So, I like to have two at least. Three's perfect for me. I got the room to do it. So, if I'm playing just single mappers or maybe a two mapper and a couple single mappers, that way if I get sort of brain stuck or brain lock on one, before I put myself into burnout mode, go play something else. And even if it was the same, like I could have 3 OCS games set up at the same time, and I'd be good. Just jump from one to the other. Just maybe something on a different scale. So for me, it works. Some people it doesn't because you want to focus on the rules at hand. Yeah, none of us are probably perfect when it comes to the rules, although I know there's some out there that are sharp as tacks, but it's usually in their genre. It's in their particular game series. All right, so we dropped NATO, the next war in Europe on here, started to play. Love the charts. Always love the charts with the victory games. So there's only 3 scenarios. And in reality, they're not even scenarios. They're all campaigns. They're just different variants. You've got the surprise, or the strategic surprise, the tactical surprise, and the extended buildup. Okay? So I chose to play the first one, the strategic surprise. Yeah, I'm not going to read all the designer notes about it, but Soviets get an advantage on the first couple turns. They don't really have a whole lot of reinforcements, though, as compared to what NATO's going to get. So, and you can see there's a drastic difference. And believe me, it looks like NATO's going to need it. Soviets get a lot of their regular Warsaw Pact stuff, and then there's some East German units in there. They don't really have any Czech reinforcements. The only batch they had, well, they got some on the second game turn, which are sitting over there. But if those guys come on as reinforcements, the NATO forces will start accumulating victory points every turn. If the Warsaw Pact launches a chemical strike of any kind, NATO's going to start accumulating victory points right away. All right. Tactical nuclear warfare. If either side starts that, well, then you got to roll a dice, and it's a 50-50 chance the game's going to be over, and you've melted the faces off too many things. Or it's going to keep going with some certain effects to the game. So I'm not even messing with that one. So what has happened is the first turn, you pretty much all you have is a Warsaw Pact movement. And really understanding how supply and headquarters work, pretty much was just able to get things to the borders to get ready to attack. The NATO forces couldn't move. And then you move on to the second turn, you start the second turn. Now, the sequence of play is, it's got a few phases to it, but a lot, we got a chart here, something that's even easier to look at. Let me find that. All right, so the abbreviated sequence of play, it's got a bunch of phases to it. But if you're not doing nuclear war and you're not launching chemical stuff and things like that, it's not. This game is not that hard. The rule booklet's not massive, believe me. I think only half of it's rules, and it's not that many. And my rule book is kind of old and fragile. Air combat, air combat, great system. You know, a lot of games, you got airplane markers all over the map, and you might have helicopter markers, and you might have target markers for indirect fire and stuff all over that. Not in this game. You decide where you're going to airstrike at when it comes to airstrikes. You go over here, you check your points, whether you're going to use tactical or operational. And it's either 1 or 2 points, depending on what you're going to assign. There's no flak you have to worry about. The mechanics of the game just sort of incorporate all that. All right. And you wear your points down. Then the next turn, you come over to your chart here. And depending on what scenario, what variant you're playing, I'm using the red one. That's the strategic. It'll tell you, all right, so this turn, they're going to get 6 tactical airs back and 2 operational. All right, difference between tactical air and operational. Operational can pretty much reach anywhere on the map, whereas tactical, you can fly either within your own home country, like Warsaw Pact countries or NATO confined NATO country, or within 3 hexes of an in-supplied combat unit. So that's how the tactical air will get used as the Russians push, or the Warsaw Pact pushes. It's so hard to say that nowadays, as they push down into Germany or wherever. Should have read this rule over here first, because I could have kept Italy out of the game, but I decided the Czechoslovaks to go across the river there and attack Austria, so now Italy's in the game. And as you can see, those forces from Italy, they were conditional reinforcements. They will start coming in. Decent. Not the greatest, but decent. I had thought about doing airdrops with the airborne troops right there into Denmark, but then I realized 4 strength points weren't going to do shit against a 3 defense strength sitting in a major city, because they're going to get a -3 die roll. All right, Berlin got attacked. It got attacked with an offensive marker, which doubles the attack strength. And there were only 3 strength points of defense in Berlin, but they get doubled because they're in a major city. They actually took 1 loss and dished out a loss to the Warsaw Pact. Dished out 2 losses, actually, to the Warsaw Pact. Air into major cities, very minimal chance you're going to hit anything. You got to use 2 points. Rail movement, right? You know, a lot of games, it's really hard to account for rail movement. Well, this one's simple. You have a chart. Warsaw Pact gets, I think it's 16 or 18. NATO gets up to 28, I believe, or 30 or something like that. And that means that during a turn, NATO can have 30 steps of units under rail markers. And under rail marker, you can move 20 hexes. They consider there to be railroads all over the place, because you see how the scale of the map is. So there's no roads, no railroads. The only transportation limitations you have are where these little black arrows are. That's how you move through those hexes. So you could not cross. So your movement here would be here, here, here. You couldn't go from here to here because there's no arrow, like mountain passes. Otherwise, moving through all the rest of the stuff is 1 movement point, except for crossing a major river. Takes 1 additional movement point. All right. So your rail guys, they can move 20 hexes, just don't move adjacent to anybody. Strategic movement, another one of those things where you can't move into an enemy zone of control. You can double the movement of a unit. Okay, helps them move along a little faster. Zones of control, you have 3. You have zone of control, zone of delay, and then no zone of control. So a 4-step unit or better has a zone of control, which is all 6 hexes, and you're going to stop when you hit 1, and it costs a movement point to get into 1 and a movement point to get out of 1. Zone of delay costs 1 movement point to get in. All right, and you can continue to move. Zone of control, when you hit it, you have to stop. And those are for units under 4 steps, so that's pretty much a majority of your stuff is 3-step units or less. And then no zone of controls are, you just blow right on around them. You don't have to worry about them. Let's see. Not using chemical strike. Your air can do interdiction. You have helicopter transport. Helicopter transports can pick a unit up, fly it 10 hexes, drop it off. Airborne drops, you have the airplanes over there. One air point or 1 transport point can handle 1 step. Pick him up, fly him anywhere on the map, and drop him. And then you got to do like what they call interception. You got to use the interception chart depending on whether you're in friendly land or you're in enemy land. You roll on that chart, and it tells you whether or not the unit landed safely or whether it lost anything. Victory conditions for this game. Warsaw Pact gets points by taking cities. NATO has like 6 of them. You know, they get points, start getting points every turn if a Czech unit, reinforcement unit comes on the map, or if a East German reinforcements come on the map, which they haven't done any of that yet, or they go over and they start taking cities. They have like 6 of them, or 3 of them are pretty much already, two or 3 of them are pretty much already wiped out because the Warsaw Pact's already crossed the border and taken some of the NATO cities. First 2 turns of the game, well, first turn, NATO can't do anything. Second turn, only the units in Germany and up here in Austria, they can move. Okay? So that's pretty much trying to get troops up to the front. I was having a hard time deciding here whether I wanted to hang on to Hamburg. That unit that was in there, was only one, was up in the upper part of Hamburg. He took a loss instead of retreating, but then I decided I was going to start pulling them back along this river, just so I can get these other troops up here faster. So yeah, NATO, next war in Europe, 1983 from Victory Games. We're chugging right along. All right, Warsaw Pact is pushed in, like I said, to Hamburg. They'll probably go clear out Denmark, get them out of the war, and they're pushing right down the center. They're going straight. Well, I'd say south, but it's not south. So they're going straight west. Drive down to I guess that's the Main or the Rhine, the Rhine River. There's Frankfurt. Right there's Mannheim. That's where I was stationed. Okay. Yeah. I mean, not much developed yet. The Czechs are already pushing across the border. But the East Germans, they're pushing they're headed straight towards Frankfurt. And Warsaw Pact is going to drive towards Dortmund, Essen, Dusseldorf. They're going to drive down through the plains here. And at the same time, somebody will peel off and take care of Denmark. Like I said, get Denmark. I think you get them out of the fight. Belgium's another one, which is way down here, though. Get Belgium out of the fight. And the Netherlands. Sound familiar? Sound like 1940-ish to you? But like I said, all those are over here. So down through the plains, down through the coast. All right. So like I say, you pick this thing up, don't freak out about the sequence of play. It's really not that hard. And the rules for each section, of course, movement and combats are always going to be the biggest ones. But everything else is just simple 1-2 paragraph set of rules. Very plain, very simple. All your charts, like I say, are right there on the record tracks. There, you don't really do anything with victory points till the end of the game. So there's a couple cases where the NATO might move up. All right. You track your air points, transportation points, up, down. They're either used or available. Nuclear strikes, the NATO units, they're fully uploaded, ready to be used. Same with the Soviets. All right, Soviets have chemical warfare. Whenever they decide to use that, don't know, they might have to, depending on how well their attacks go. Rail cap, tactical air, operational air, everything's right there. All right. All right, so that's it for NATO, the next war in Europe. That's it after 2 turns. We're starting the third one. So let's get this thing posted up here so you guys can see what's going on initially, how this thing functions, and then we'll play through a few turns before we post again. All right, talk to y'all here soon.